Michael Gans from the back should go well. We're on board with Steve Soper in this race in the middle of row 1, but it's Meaden who's quickest out of the blocks. Soper trying to go with him. The red Cortina from the second row is that of John Young, number 11, and the blue one is Mark Sumter. Banks in the Alfa, wide out of the first corner, but gets a good run on the exit, but he's been surrounded by minis, and that looks like Nick Swift and also Rob Huff up there. Steve Soper fighting the Lotus Cortina from lock to lock as he chases Richard Meaden.
Well, they're still desperate to get some heat in their tyres after only that solus outlap. Soper a little bit sideways, he comes through the kink before some
minis round the outside, absolutely fantastic. Is that Rob Huff at the head of the mini pack?
It is. How the heck did he manage to get that haul down to get around St Mary's? Absolutely phenomenal. That's the darker green mini. The lighter green one is Nick Swift. He was late to the grid, had me worried, but I thought there has to be some action. It has to have Nick Swift. There's plenty of action. They've touched and they're slowing themselves down on the run to Lavant there, and Max Banks is going to try and fight back in the Alfa, but providing plenty of action. Huffy in the 46 and Swifty, if we can call him that, in the mini that's leading that little group.
Yes, he got back down at Lavant, didn't he? And he's fighting away. And Max Banks, Andrew Banks, trying to carve his way through. He normally shares with his brother, Maxim. But
sorry, you're right. Yep.
Down they come into the sunset over Woodcote. One of the BMWs locks up on the inside. And this is absolutely awesome stuff. But one of the Cortinas has come straight on through the...
Well, that's Soper's car.
That's Soper. So it's Meaden all on his own. Sumter is second. Young is third. Swift is fourth. Banks is fifth. Huff is next up. Then the BMW. And Steve Soper, I think, has ground to a halt. Is he trying to make his way back to the pits? Or is he just going to pull off out there? I think he's waiting for the opportunity to duck across the track when it's clear and get back into the pits. That's our camera car in trouble, and he's going to peel off into the refuge road.
33 Alfa Romeo's gone for a spin up at Madgwick, and one of the Lotus Cortinas as well. 56 by looks of things.
Yep, 33. That's Andrew Lawley in the Alfa Romeo.
Meaden pulling ever further clear. Mark Sumter had a very aggressive first corner that gained him a bit of ground, and he's holding down second in the bright blue Lotus Cortina. Third place John Young. Now he's got Nick Swift right on his tail, and Andrew Banks in the Alfa starting to fight back.
Rest of the BMs is 134, which is Tony Wood. That's Jason Stanley behind him.
We've got yellow flag still waving at Madgwick. Is that Alfa stranded at Madgwick corner?
Nick Padmore 10th. Here they come then, and that's the battle behind leaders. That's John Young in the red Cortina, Andrew Banks and Nick Swift. And Nick Swift's so close to the back of the Alfa, sweeps to the outside. Meaden with 2.4 seconds advantage at the end of the first lap. Sumter going after him, but he's got his work cut out. His Meaden car very much top spec. Young in third place in 11. Banks in the Alfa next.
Well, see the way that John Young's at Cortina hit a bump on the approach to Madgwick and really had a squirm as he was trying to put a bit of braking down, and he's having to work very hard indeed because Andrew Banks is right on his tail. Nick Swift hanging in there in the little pale green mini. Then there's a BMW, and then a couple of cars further back.
Jason Stanley's past Huff. Yes, Jason Stanley's got himself past Huff now in the car, the one car, the turquoise car, reminiscent of the Key Barden Cooper S. Steve Neal, Matt Neal's father, drove back in '67.
Just looking to see if Andrew Banks can do anything about John Young, but as he looks to do so in turn, Nick Swift in the 76 Mini is just trying to use that moment too to make an attack. I think the Mini's going to dive up the inside into Lavant. No, Andrew Banks was aware of that and kept the Alfa Romeo just on the right part of track to keep him back, but in turn that's given him a run up the inside of John Young, but John Young's been around the block too many times to give him enough space to put the power down where he wants to put it down as they go to the Lavant kink.
And Nick Padmore looks like he's gluing himself now to the back bumper of Rob Huff as they come down the long Lavant straight with the sunshine behind them.
Well, all this fighting over third place is very good news indeed for Mark Sumter in second. It doesn't look as though he's able to do anything about the pace of Richard Meaden. We didn't expect him to, but it does mean that Sumter in the bright blue Lotus Cortina there is cementing second place.
Stanley's trying to bridge the gap to the pack ahead of him, good job of it too, Jason Stanley in car number 1. Padmore up ahead of Huff. 56 against 46, 121. Abbott is next up.
Well, is this the run we're going to see from Andrew Banks? Didn't manage to get past John Young too wily for that. He might have another look when they get to Lavant. He's got to be really smooth and carry as much speed as he can through the kink up to St Mary's, but carrying the most speed through the kink is the little Mini behind with Nick Swift, but then he loses out again when they get to St Mary's, but he's got it almost alongside the Mini, going alongside the Alfa Romeo. The Alfa's got a bit more grunt up the hill, but certainly a whole load of momentum carried there by Nick Swift, and all along closing in behind is Tony Wood in the pale blue BMW right on his tail. Now
yes,
Swift
he's got a bit more grunt. Wood's got more grunt than the others, but look at that. Swift goes through, gets his nose ahead of the Alfa on the exit of Lavant, but the Alfa will prevail as that lusty twin cam is opened wide. Down he comes. Super battling this, absolutely brilliant.
Tony Wood right in the thick of the battle now, putting it in against the Swift Mini, but not putting it out as they go down through Woodcote into the chicane. But the BMW was able to close up on this three-way battle to make it a four-way battle. And behind, he's got Jason Stanley closing on him, and Nick Padmore behind him in turn. Then the BMW seemed to pull out of line, thought it was a problem, but he's lost a bit of ground there. The little Mini with Stanley able to attack up the start-finish straight.
Young, Banks and Swift in that chase, and Sumter's holding Meaden, but I think Meaden's just feathered back a little bit to make sure of this one. He's not going any quicker than he was early in the race, and Sumter just edging quicker and quicker and quicker. Meaden has the fastest lap of 32.452, 32.804 to Sumter.
Yep, unabated pace at the front, but just over 3 minutes to go as the sun gets lower and lower. The little battle for third place has opened out a bit, but he had to go past Kurt Engelhorn's Cortina that had a problem with the Alfa Romeo up at Madrick a few laps ago, and that has broken the toe a little bit, but Andrew Banks able to attack back as they get to Lavant, almost close enough to look up the inside, and on the tail there Nick Swift trying to decide what he's going to do next, but of course he really struggles when it comes to horsepower. He's fine when you don't need to do any braking to go around a corner. Look, he's going around the outside of Andrew Banks this time, which then becomes the inside when it comes to King.
All the way round.
What a brave move he had. Oh, a cigarette paper between him and the grass on the outside.
And opened a gap for Tony Wood to try to duck through in the BMW, which is quick in a straight line. It's got lots of power, but it's heavy when it comes to the braking area for Woodcote. Of course, Nick Swift doesn't really worry about braking, just flings the Mini sideways and keeps his right foot buried against the bulkhead. It's actually becoming a fantastic tussle. The left hooker Cortina in third place, now with Swift on his boot lid.
But Swift has the correct line for Madrick. Will he still have his nose in front of the Alfa Romeo? No, the Alfa Romeo's nosed ahead, powered ahead, and regained the position, but through the course of the corner at Madrick. Look, almost three abreast. The Mini dives up the inside of the Alfa Romeo, edges him slightly towards the outside of the circuit, but then, of course, the Alfa's power comes in, and so the Mini back down to fifth place one more time.
With 2.8 seconds covering third right the way through to ninth.
Yes, it's a real shame the race had to be curtailed before it started, because there's the trio of Minis behind Tony Wood's BMW are closing in really, really quickly. But, of course, they hold each other up as they tussle. And Nick Padmore in 56 has moved ahead of Jason Stanley, and Rob Huff at the back of that group. And, of course, he delayed himself on the opening lap with the body rubbing with the Mini on the big screen to the moment, that of Nick Swift.
That tussle with the three Minis chasing along behind Tony Wood as well is just brilliant. Got a 7-car group.
And by my reckoning, this is the penultimate lap, because I think we're about to have Richard Meaden start one more lap.
Is the BMW going to get ahead of the Mini down towards Woodcote? I don't think so, but if he does, the other three Minis are snapping at Tony Wood's back bumpers. Yellow flags waving out of the chicane. Not sure what that's for.
I think it's anticipation, Marcus. When you have that many Minis coming towards you, get your flags ready. You can see the Minis. In fact, Rob Huff has lost a bit of ground in the back of that grouping. He's dropped back in the fourth ranked Mini there, but the top Mini is still Nick Swift, 76, fighting as hard as he can to keep Andrew Banks honest. It's been a fantastic race. Tony Wood in the BMW, and then behind, definitely losing ground, is Rob Huff.
And now trying to snatch the final podium place and deny a Cortina 1, 2, 3 is Andrew Banks.
Well, it's really tight till they come to King before St Mary's. Last time when they went to Woodcote, I thought John Young was having some handling difficulties, but that's just how deep he was going. And again, over the curbs on the inside at St Mary's, and up fleetingly to 4th place went Nick Swift, but as soon as the power had to go back down, the Alfa ahead.
And this is where that Mini of Nick Swift is so audacious. Again, he's trying to maintain that momentum, and Nick Padmore's not far behind them. He'd like to get in among into Swift territory. Richard Meaden flicks the Cortina sideways. This is a triumphant flick of lock. Comes out and wins the Whitmore race. John Whitmore, of course, had won the 1965 European Touring Car Championship in an Alan Mann Cortina. Meaden 4.1 seconds ahead of Sumpter at the end. Here's that train of cars. Would have been fantastic if that had been for the lead. But it's Young, Banks, Swift, Wood, Padmore, Stanley, and Huff, who faded just a little over the last couple of laps. Then there's 2 BMWs coming next in, which will be Abbott and Solomons, with Clark looming in their mirrors as well. In yet another one, John Clark, former BTCC racer, all the way down from Scotland.